On today's episode of WatchJRGo, the thing we've all been waiting for in the new shop. You already guessed it, lifts. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, we are here in my new shop, and you can see it's dark outside already. But today started very early at the storage unit, and some things have been done. Almost all the things, look at that. So we had to start by loading all of these up on a flatbed trailer and then getting them unloaded over here without a forklift. Over there we had a forklift. Over here, Al, the lift guy, who he serviced these one time for me, and he also set up Weston Champlin's lifts. He has a system of getting them on and off a trailer with no forklift. He basically sets up a cantilever using a strap and then just pulls them off the top, all by hand, like no problem at all. Just they come up and they slide down and they sit on their base and it's done, which is pretty incredible. So he was here with me all day. I just didn't want to make it awkward with some video, so we just worked instead. And while he was drilling holes, I was shooting at anchors, and we stood things up and figured out where they were going to go. And we started with the lifts over there where I wanted them, and found out if we did that, the roofs were going to hit the trusses in this building. So we had to move them over to the side and then finally lock in our position and put them together. In fact, that first lift, I could string the cables in right now, but you know, I don't want to get too far ahead of him. It's really his job. I'm paying him to install them this time because I did need somebody that could move them without a forklift. And you know, he was like, I'll just do it all. And here he is doing it all. So I'm helping out where I can, you know, putting bolts in on the top and moving some stuff back and forth. But for the most part, Al is doing all the work on these. And honestly, it's making my job a lot easier. So the second one, I'm not sure if this is gonna work yet. We planned on putting them right beside each other in these two bays. And now here I am thinking it's not gonna work. We might have to put one right here, which I'm not excited about, but at the same time, it may have to happen. I thought about just moving it over there into that corner, you know, because we're pretty fluid right now. We're just moving things around wherever we think they could fit. But I want that side of the shop to be car storage so we can line up the cars. And if we put a lift over there, well, it pretty much takes, you know, half of the shop away. Already just having to move the lifts back this way means I think we're gonna slide the lift rack all the way over there so we have even more car storage back in that corner, because it doesn't really make sense to just abandon that corner over there. I know I do plan on wrapping some of this in workbenches this time, but we do need a place for all the cars at the same time, and that's probably gonna require freeing up that entire corner now, since we weren't able to put the lifts all the way back where I wanted. So right here, this is the only real concern. Here's the center line for a car, and you guys can see this lift arm it's pretty in the way. It's pretty in the way. I don't know if it's a problem yet. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to work. It might, it would be really tight. I technically think I could drive in here, but if you were ever wrong backing out, you would smoke a lift pole, which isn't going to move, so you're gonna smoke a car, and I really don't want to do that. I might have to move up even farther. And then the garage door can't move, and that means we couldn't put big cars over here. They'd have to be small cars in this corner. I have said from day one, if this building didn't have these horrible trusses, the worst design I've ever seen in my life, it might have like lent itself a little bit to putting lights in, but for the most part, it is the most garbage building ever. Just because of the red iron. It should be I-beam, and this building's tiny, so it should be like 3 or 4 inch I-beam web, and it would have been perfect. But instead, it has these giant I-beams that open up, and it also should have had taller eaves. It's just too small. So it's compromised city. Some days that's how it goes. So that's what we got done today. Basically one lift down. Tomorrow we're gonna wrap all this stuff up, so we'll be right back here in the morning to keep working on them. And by the end of this, we'll be lifting cars up and ready to work on them again. It's the next day and we are back, and we're back with some time-lapse action for you guys so you can see the lifts go together. So let's go right to the time-lapse. Well, there you have it. The lifts are up, both of them. They're not 100% done though, like they are, but 4 bolts. We found rebar 4 inches down and we were like, let's put epoxy bolts in those. So there's 1 bolt on this lift, that's totally done, and 3 bolts on that lift where we found rebar, and it was somehow right in line with our bolt line. But anyway, that'll be an easy fix. We'll be back on Friday, and on Friday I can start using these things. And also on Friday, I think we'll actually have these things wired up properly. So I need some conduit, run back up the side there, and then we can, well, we'll shove the wires in the conduit, run it up the side, and then tie it back down to our feed across the shop. So that lift over there is completely cleaned up, ready to rock and roll. This lift, I actually need to climb up here and wipe the entire thing down because they're still filthy from being in storage, and then it should look as new as this one. But for the most part, we are done for the day, and I know we just started for the day. Shout out to Al, having a system for knocking these things out and getting them done faster than we could have. That was also a big thing, is that it takes us a little bit of time to get all this stuff put together, and he obviously does this every day, so he's really fast at it, and having a way to move them, that was the main key there, because without a forklift at both buildings, it's kind of impossible. But I absolutely love how they look. We did end up moving that other one into that far bay like we kind of expected. It had to be done because over here, you wouldn't have been able to load a car onto this lift if we put one right there. And also, we're still concerned about all the bathroom plumbing in here. We do know that this comes over to here, and then there's like an elbow, and we can clearly see there's a T inside this pipe. You can probably even see the T. Pretty easy to see. And then that must come over to here where there's an elbow for this closet flange right there. And then that is lined up to the vent at the wall. And we have no idea who on earth, who in their right mind would try to put a bathroom in the middle of a building. I might not know what they were thinking, but what I do know is that we're gonna cut that one off flush. And I mean, first, because people keep tripping over it. I usually don't trip over it, but everybody else is, and I can't leave that sticking out because it's in front of the toolbox. It's just always in the way. I can't believe that pipe's sticking up and the other one's not. So we're gonna cut that flush first, and then we might grind in and then put a plate over all of this. That's kind of the plot, because I do want to be able to use that maybe in the future if it's connected to something. Maybe, maybe not, we'll figure it out together. But for now, we're just gonna get rid of it because I don't really need a bathroom in here. It's a really short walk. The only thing you really need in the shop is water in case something gets in your eyes, and carry some water bottles. Keep some water bottles in here. We'll probably even put a fridge out here. But the lifts were not the only project for today. While Al was working on these, I needed something to do, and this, guess what showed up last night? The garage door opener. This is the brand new LiftMaster 98022 that replaces the much easier to say 8300 LM or whatever it was. Or I think it was just called the 8300, 8500, something like that. But the old LiftMaster wall mount, that's what I've been using forever. This is the brand new one with everything integrated into it. Of course, Security Plus 2, built-in battery backup is literally in the unit. The old ones I have, like, I would build a shelf and hang the battery on it. This one, the battery's inside that little thing. So let's climb up here and take a look at it. We've got the powered by MyQ on the front. Of course, you know, we're all against LiftMaster now. They're the worst company on the planet, but they're also the only one that builds good garage door openers. So while they are terrible, the other options are worse, and you just kind of deal with them. So this will probably get RatGo or whatever they're called, RatGDO. That way we can remotely control this with the Control 4 and HomeKit and stuff like that. But yeah, you flip this giant door open. The battery's hiding in there. I assume the light's saying the sensors are lined up. If you can see the sensors, they're pointing at each other right there. I do not want the sensors on my shop, so they don't exist. Just the way it should be. This is the automatic lock, which I haven't tied up any of these wires because we are replacing these doors. And I know we're gonna throw all the track away, so this is a temporary setup. So that's why it's all zip tied, it doesn't look that great. It's all coming back down. But I love having that lock right there. It slides in and physically locks the door shut once it's all the way down. Of course, it's totally set up on the Wi-Fi and everything like that already. And one thing that I want to tell you guys, in case you don't know, Garage door openers now have become ridiculous, right? To the point that you can't even use a contact closure, an old push button. You can't use that to control the door anymore. That's not how they work. All this wire that's running over here to the wall control is power. How insane is that? If you touch the wires together, nothing happens at all. It does not care. So this is literally powering another wireless remote, and when you push the button, it's doing the exact same thing that happens when you push this button. And when you add a different wall remote, you have to learn it and everything like that as well. You go push the learn button on there, and then you push program or learn on here, and they sync back up like you added another push button remote. Anyway, that's why it's become incredibly complicated to control your garage door opener. If you want a nice new one, you have to take a remote apart, either the wall remote or a wireless remote, unsolder the switch, and then solder 2 wires on where the switch was and run some wires into the remote. There are literally companies selling that solution right now because it's the only way you can make the Security Plus ultra high-end rolling code system these use actually work with some kind of other control system. And that's also why if you have like an opener like this and a new car, you can't use HomeLink. HomeLink doesn't work unless you downgrade it. Anyway, that was the entire to-do list. 2 lifts, garage door opener. Obviously the rest of the to-do list is replace those 2 doors. I keep trying to talk to this guy that's supposed to do the doors, and I can't get a hold of him. I called him this morning. Down the road, we'll get insulated doors, and we're ready to bring a trailer over here full of stuff, load the lever rack up, and there's nothing left, right? I think this shop's complete. I think we get to call it a day, which I'm very excited about. And with all that said, there's only one thing left to do. Let's get to it. There you go, the lift works. I don't want to put anything heavier than that on it until we get those last couple bolts in. I'm sure that lift's totally fine, which is why we left the power hooked up to it. But by the end of the week, we'll have the conduit up, power stubbed into the junction box, everything completely wrapped up on these things. All that's left for me to do right now is get up there and clean it. So I'm gonna get the ladder out, grab a little bit of quick detailer, and start wiping this lift down. And by the end of the day, they should look new and ready to get back to work. These things were absolutely filthy from sitting for a year. They were on these furniture dollies here, and you know, when they're that close to the ground, they just get covered in dirt. All the dirt that gets flung up by your feet there. So, a little bit of cleaning, and it should look as good as this one did. We are inching ever so close to having this shop completely set up. Really, it's just a couple trailer loads, maybe one big trailer load to get all the shelves and put everything up on them, and this place will be clean and ready to rock and roll. Now there's more electrical to do. They are coming this weekend, obviously, to finish up the lifts and put the rest of these outlets in, but that should pretty much wrap it up. Over here in the corner, I just put together a mini Motul lounge, which I'm loving. Got that cleaned up, ready to rock and roll, and a place to put some stuff, which is nice, since this table, it'll probably stay as a workbench, but I'll get all that cleaned off as soon as the electrical's done. And the Moto Compacto is looking pretty sweet up on the lift. Other than just moving in, the only other thing I really need to get done is drilling a hole and putting in the second air conditioner. But I will tell you, it feels great in here so far. We're waiting on garage doors. Whenever that guy wants to answer the phone and put those in, and whenever I drill that hole, I think we'll have the most perfect climate control in here, because it's nice already. And if it's nice already, insulated doors and one more unit, it'll be super easy to maintain temperatures in here. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. One more interesting fact for you guys that came from the lift install. So Al has one of those giant rotary hammers. We're talking, you know, the one that looks like a briefcase with a drill handle on the end of it, and those things will hammer through anything. And they'll also run like giant hole saws if you need a core drill and stuff like that. And he brought over his old one and was getting these holes knocked out, and I was like, I'll go get another drill. And what I went to go get was the DeWalt SDS that Eric and I bought to put these lifts in originally. So neither of us had a big enough hammer drill. So we ran to Lowe's and picked up this guy, which is only SDS Plus, I think, not SDS Max, which is the full spline drive. This is the partial spline drive. So this is that's like a standard sized hammer drill, and Al had the big boy. And then this morning he came back with the Milwaukee plug-in big boy because he was like, I'll get a bigger one so I can get these holes done faster. Side note, the concrete is 6 inches plus in some places. That was actually awesome to find out. Outside I could see it was pretty thick, but I wasn't 100% sure. And as soon as we drilled it and the drills popped through at 6, we were like, yeah, it's perfect. Anyway, the concrete's pretty hard too. That was nice. So he gets that Milwaukee. I picked up that DeWalt last night and I grabbed that thing, shove it in a hole, and he starts a hole and I started a hole, and he videoed this. I should have, but the DeWalt went through in like 20 seconds compared to 40 seconds with the rotary hammer. I don't know how, but that DeWalt turns and hammers so fast and so hard that it was outdoing a rotary hammer that's built for the application. And I did have a new bit, but I think he showed up with a new bit today as well. These are good bits. These are the Bosch 2X Life Bulldog 3/4 concrete with rebar. Wow, I did not realize this was meant to drill rebar out, because when I hit rebar, I stopped. And I could have switched to a metal drill, but it's just easier to put in epoxy anchors on those holes. Anyway, pretty interesting. That DeWalt rips. It was pretty unbelievable that I only have to sit there and hammer, and I can put all my weight on it because it's a little bit shorter, for 20 seconds, and his were taking twice as long, which really makes me question if I should buy the Milwaukee SDS Max cordless that I would like to have when I have to drill concrete. Or I could just borrow Eric's.